Where do you find Hungarian culture in the city of Budapest? What kinds of food do they have at a Hungarian buffet? How do you play a piano with no keys? Why would you balance wine on your head? And what's that dance with the wooden spoons? Some of these questions answered straight ahead. Stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the fourth companion video for our website, Bob and Nella's World. I remain Bob. My lovely wife, who shares my enthusiasm for traveling but seems a little skeptical about these videos, is Nella. This video comes from the continuation of our 2014 visit to Budapest and is entitled Hungarian Culture. Those of you who've seen our previous videos know that Hungary's been a country for several centuries, and you might be thinking that a scholarly exploration of Hungarian culture would take hours at a minimum. But while we'd like to give you more background than you'll see in most of these types of videos, you will have noticed that this background is far from comprehensive and not exactly scholarly. But the contents of these videos only come from our personal experiences, which are some that any other tourist might encounter on a similar visit. This particular video is based on a cultural presentation we attended on the evening of our first full day in the city. As we were leaving our hotel in the morning for our first day adventures, we were asked by one of the front desk people whether we would be interested in such a presentation to be given that evening, which would also include a buffet dinner of Hungarian food, sort of a Hungarian experience. As it turned out, we'd been thinking something like this could be a valuable part of our visit, but we weren't sure where we might find something like it on short notice. Though this presentation seemed to be on the pricey side, this was the Le Méridien Hotel after all, it was extremely convenient and seemed to include a lot of exactly what we were looking for, so we signed up. After our visits to the Basilica and the Art Museum, we returned to the hotel and rested up a bit, and at the appointed hour we made our way to the performance venue, which turned out to be the room where we'd eaten breakfast that morning. But the room had been transformed with the addition of several more tables and the removal of a large central table which had held fruit juices in the morning. This removal left space in the middle of the room for the performers to do their thing. The performance turned out to be a hot ticket, and the extra tables were not enough to accommodate everybody, so side rooms had been opened up and more tables were added to them. We ended up at a table in a side room. Eventually dinner was announced, and we all lined up and loaded up our plates. There was goulash, of course, some local fish, some salads, and other stuff which I can't remember, partly because it wasn't there for very long. By the time I'd finished my food and went back for a second plate, all of the main courses had been replaced by desserts. I'm not sure what all of it was, but everything I tried was delicious. As we were eating, we were treated to some music as performed by a four-piece house band. This wasn't a group of young punks playing the latest Hungarian hip-hop. These guys had a little more seasoning to them. As you can see, three of the band members wore white shirts, ties, and red vests that didn't seem to quite match each other. The fourth member wore a dark suit and played lead violin. His bandmates played second violin. His violin seemed to be a little on the large side and may have been a viola, an upright bass, and a cymbalum. A cymbalum is a member of the dulcimer family of instruments and seems to be an indispensable part of bands which play traditional Eastern European music. It might be helpful to think of a cymbalum as something like a piano without a keyboard. This might not make much sense, as a piano without a keyboard wouldn't amount to much. It would just be a box full of piano strings, which pretty much describes a cymbalum. While a musician could pluck the strings, and sometimes they do, a cymbalum is usually played by selectively striking the strings with a couple of fabric-tipped wands, which serve the same purpose as the little hammers inside a piano that strike the piano strings. Of course, while a piano player can play up to 10 notes at once, a cymbalum player is limited to 2, and the cymbalum player must be intimately familiar with the spiderweb of strings inhabiting his or her instrument. If you're like me, first, my condolences, and second, you're probably thinking this sounds really difficult, which makes the performance of a good cymbalum player only explainable as magic. The cymbalum player in the hotel's presentation seemed to be pretty good, but we didn't have a very good view of him. Our side room table was directly behind the viola player, who blocked our view of the cymbalum, but I was able to get a short piece of video from another angle. At one point you can see that the band's cymbalum player also seems to be the band's accountant. To have a better view of some amazing cymbalom performances, you can find several such videos on YouTube. I'll put a link to one in the description field below, but you can also just search on cymbalom and find your own favorites. Here's another clip of the band in action. Johannes Brahms was German, not Hungarian, but in 1869 he wrote a series of 21 Hungarian dances, mostly based on Hungarian themes. This clip is part of Hungarian dance number 5. Once everyone was done eating dinner, the main performance began. It mostly consisted of a lot of traditional Hungarian dancing by dancers wearing what appeared to be traditional Hungarian clothing, accompanied by the talented house band. This mainly happened in the open space in the middle of the dining room floor, and again our view could have been better. There are more videos on YouTube of Hungarian dancing, as you might expect. I've used them to try to identify the individual dances, and I think I figured out some of what was going on. First up is a guys-only dance, which I believe is the Legényes. This dance originated in Transylvania, which was once part of Hungary, and it features lots of boot slapping. I think these next two clips are a pairs dance called the Csárdas, which dates back to the 18th century. This dance starts at a moderate tempo but gradually accelerates, becoming an intense cardio workout by the time it ends. A number of well-known composers did some dabbling in Csárdas music, including Liszt, Brahms, and Tchaikovsky. The next dance is a girls-only dance called the Üveges, and practicing it develops the valuable skill of balancing wine bottles on one's head while singing and dancing. The bottles used in this presentation look like large Erlenmeyer flasks for you chem majors out there, which makes for a wide support base and a low center of gravity. On YouTube, there are videos of young women doing this with actual wine bottles, but this seems awfully advanced. After finishing their dance, the dancers walked around among the tables, balancing their bottles on the heads of the female audience members.
Very good.
At this point, there was a break for a costume change, and then some dancing started, which I haven't been able to identify. Some of it involved guys with wooden spoons and girls banging on tambourines. Our side room seemed to function as the backstage area for dancers waiting to go on. Eventually the dancers finished their routines and they started some more conventional dancing with audience members. The audience members moved on to other audience members and the professionals eventually took their leave. But the band remained, taking requests for a fee, which gradually transitioned away from the traditional and more toward the cheesy. After a little bit, being pretty worn out and not much into dancing, in my case anyway, we made our exit as well, returning to our room to rest up for the next day's exertions. And where might that be, you might ask? I don't want to give anything away, but it rhymes with Buda. Until then, thanks for watching and leave your reactions below. Or you could even throw caution to the wind and subscribe. There should be more of these videos, unless someone threatens legal action.